On this edition of Defending the Kingdom, think about 4 a.m. Is it night or is it day? That's where the Chiefs Kingdom is right now. After finishing the offseason and especially the mandatory minicamp, it's now time soon to head to St. Joseph for training camp. So right now on DTK, it's 4 a.m. everywhere in the Chiefs Kingdom.
Mahomes in the pocket, he'll step up, he'll scramble 10, 5, Mahomes, diving, touchdown, Kansas City.
10x.ai is the official cybersecurity partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. In this city, we know that championship success starts with defense. 10x.ai is the AI security operations provider protecting organizations from cybersecurity attacks at machine speed with human analysts on the loop 24/7. Experience cybersecurity that is AI native and human-led, united against every threat. Visit 10x.ai for details. Hi, everyone. I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, and with Matt McMullen, senior team reporter and director of...
I've been thinking about this. I don't think I need to go through my entire verbose thing every time, but
it's pretty cool, though. He's got a great promotion.
Yeah, Ellie was making fun of me at home. Like, how many letters are in your title now? I am the director of editorial content, but I'm still the team reporter as well. So we'll just go with team reporter. That's easy to say.
Okay, but it's a great and well-desered promotion.
Well, thanks.
So he's Matt McMullen. I'm Mitch Holthus. I'm just the voice of the Chiefs. So just kind of been that for 33 seasons, but that's okay.
One and only.
Well, have you ever, this might be going back to your childhood or your adolescence or your time in college. Mm-hmm. You get back in at 4 a.m. Or let's put it in our adult life, you get back from the road in one of these Sunday night or Monday night games, and you're getting back home at 4 a.m. Do you ever ask yourself, is it night or is it day?
Yeah, it's usually based on my mood as well. I can think of recent Chiefs examples of this where, like after Super Bowls or after awesome playoff wins, and we get back here and it's 4 a.m. and I'm just going a million miles an hour. I'm wired. I don't want to go to sleep. I'm having a great time. Or like last year after the Jacksonville loss, which was one of the more difficult losses to really absorb, I think. And we got back here at like 3 a.m. And for those listening after that game back in the day, my car didn't start in the parking lot at 3 a.m. And I sat there thinking, this is a bad day. So I think when you're happy and things are going well, it's still night. And I think when things are not going well, you realize it's morning because you have a lot to do ahead of you.
And you look ahead to the east and you're going, is that the morning star? Or
is that Venus?
I thought it was still night.
Yeah.
And your car battery story is only, it's a parallel story. When I came out of the game, I think it was the Houston game or the Denver game, in a bad mood, right? Because we'd lost, and might have been the Houston game.
It was the Houston game, yeah.
And my car got towed in the parking lot. Yeah, it was towed.
I didn't know that.
No,
you didn't tell me that.
Like, wait a minute, it's got a thing on it and everything, but it's got towed. Yeah, no, I walked around the parking lot. I went to a place where it's normally towed. It wasn't there. I got my car stolen.
Where were you parked at?
Where I normally park.
And they towed it.
They towed it. And so then, so I'm going, my car's stolen. Somebody stole my car. And I'm thinking they hot-wired it in the Chiefs parking lot during a game. So anyway, we found it, but it was in an obscure lot. So that's a whole other story. But
I imagine
I remember you trying to jump your car at 4 a.m.
and failed and had to get like a ride home. And that was a whole thing. Not as bad as getting your car towed, though, after a loss.
Yeah, it was fun.
We really went through it last year.
No, we did.
We really did.
Just pump it all into that.
Let's turn the page.
So Chiefs Kingdom, is it night or is it day? This is the NFL version or the Chiefs Kingdom version of being 4 a.m. We've just completed mandatory minicamp. And really, after 3 years, and you had documented this very well, the shortest off seasons for 3 consecutive years in NFL history. Now, because of the 6-11 no playoff year, a long, over 20 weeks of time that will elapse before we go to St. Joseph to go to training camp. But it has been a very eventful time in those 20 weeks, again, culminating with the mandatory minicamp. But before we get into all that and understand that is it night or is it almost the dawn, we're going to go around the world.
I actually have no around the worlds today. I was looking for a few and couldn't find any. It is the World Cup, though, going on right now. You've been following the World Cup at all?
We could throw Messi in there for a hat trick.
How cool was that?
at Kansas City Stadium.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel
I
about
have
that
followed
one.
the World Cup more than ever. It's like Cape Verde getting the draw, like in literally stunning the world. So yeah, it's been fun to follow it.
It's been super cool, really cool for the city. I think it's great that people from all over the world have come here and have experienced Kansas City and realized what a great place it is. Realized, how great Chiefs Kingdom is, because there's obviously the parallels. I'm not usually a huge soccer guy, but I have gotten kind of into this tournament because it's impossible not to, like with it being hosted here. And I find myself up at like 11:30 watching Austria and the Czech Republic.
I haven't gone that far.
I don't know what's wrong with me, but I've
I
been
am,
doing
though.
it.
Remember the shirts we got? Did you see me put on social media the Fußball?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I'm Deutschland, right? 7-1 with their blowout victory to start. So I'm Deutschland Fußball.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's get them. So yeah, let's go for the German national team. And we got a chance to see their facility when we were in Frankfurt.
We sure did. It's all gone full circle. I'm also working a couple of the games. I'm doing some stuff for the host committee. So I'm going to go to the Netherlands-Tunisia game, which will be cool. And I'll be at the quarterfinal, which will be cool. And I'm hoping it's Argentina, because I did have some FOMO seeing Messi have the hat trick. And I'm like, oh man, I should have been there.
I have only one addition to Around the World. I spent some time, this week in Nebraska. I was in Lincoln and Omaha for 3 days. But anyway, that's such a it's the Chiefs Kingdom, right? It's so many fans. Omaha's a huge Chiefs town. Lincoln is a little bit more kind of jumbled up. In fact, one of the groups I spoke at, there was a Bronco fan there, several Bronco fans, actually a Raider fan, an Eagle fan. Let's see what else. A Bengal fan showed up, mostly Chiefs fans.
Interesting.
But Omaha, it's pretty much Chiefs territory. But I was invited by Bruce Rasmussen, longtime Creighton athletic director, to go to the College World Series.
Cool.
So at the College World Series, though, I met Brian Fahey. Brian Fahey has a suite here for at Arrowhead, I'll call it for that, or is it Kansas City Stadium?
We're not going to call it Kansas City Stadium if we can avoid
huge Chiefs
it.
fans, and his dad, Mike, who was born in Kansas City, went to Creighton, so he stayed in Omaha and built this great business. But Mike's the reason that the College World Series stayed in Omaha. Have you been to that ballpark?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's a major
Amazing.
league ballpark.
It's incredible, yeah.
It's a major league ballpark where they have the College World Series. Well, there was a move when it was at Old Rosenblatt Stadium by the zoo. This would be in your wife's wheelhouse. Omaha's a great zoo, as is Kansas City. But Rosenblatt Stadium was right there, but it was antiquated, needed to get, and so there was a push that maybe, hey, let's rotate the College World Series around. But Omaha had been the home since the early 50s, and actually, Brian's dad, Mike, was mayor of Omaha at the time and was the driving force. Think of H. Rowe Bartle getting the Chiefs to Kansas City from Dallas back in 1963. That's pretty much what Mike did to keep to get the stadium built and just transform that whole area, because their basketball arena, which is awesome, is right there, seats 16,000. And that area of Omaha, just north of downtown, is phenomenal now. And the College World Series is a complete kind of like mini World Cup, if you will.
Yeah.
And so a shout out to some big Chiefs fans, the Fahey family and Mike, for saving the College World Series in Omaha.
That's super cool. I went to the College World Series years ago. Actually, before I was a Chiefs employee, I think, years and years ago. And we saw Baker Mayfield there. He was just there with his then girlfriend at the time, now wife. And my girlfriend then, now wife, Ellie, was like, I think that's Baker Mayfield. You should go say hi. So I'm like, why not? And I did. And I met Baker Mayfield at the College World Series. Yeah.
Have you talked to him since?
No, I wish I did when they were here for that rainy game a couple years ago, but I haven't talked to him since.
For the overtime coin flip?
Yeah.
When it was the old overtime rules, and we win the toss, and he just goes, it's over.
He just knew right away. But yeah, saw Baker Mayfield at the College World Series.
I'd have given you
Amazing
$10
atmosphere,
if you'd have walked down to that coin toss and go, Baker, remember me from the College World Series?
Get away from me, man. But yeah, awesome atmosphere up there. I'm glad you got to go. It's pretty cool.
It was terrific. And the Fahey family, so many awesome families in Omaha. That town now, four Fortune 500 companies in Omaha. It's just it's an incredible area and a big Chiefs town.
Yeah.
So several of our many season ticket holders and suite holders like the Fahey family. So a shout out to them. Okay, it's 4 a.m. in the Chiefs Kingdom. So it's been nightfall. People are slumbering and sleeping, but anxiously awaiting the sunrise, which will be training camp in St. Joseph. But Matt and I want to do a little bit of a review of what we have seen in the OTAs and the mandatory minicamp that are pertinent as we get ready to go to St. Joseph. And then we'll give you a couple dates at the end of the podcast that you need to know as you get ready for the Chiefs going to St. Joseph for a 16th time. It started in 2010. Remember, COVID, we did not go there. So there's one skipped year in there, but we're headed back to St. Joseph again. It's amazing to think we've been there 16 seasons.
When you say that, though, it reminds me of the COVID year when Mitch and I would be golf carted out to watch practice right behind us when training camp was here during COVID. And they would tell us beforehand, if you guys have to go to the bathroom, you have to go right now. You're not going to go again for 4 hours. And we're like, okay. We had no food and water. We're just watching it from like 100 yards away.
Or the convenience store across the parking lot up on Blue Ridge Cutoff.
We're scared to touch anything.
Yeah. Okay. We're 400 meters away watching practice go. I think that's Turk Wharton. I think that's Turk Wharton.
And if we have to cough or something, just because, just naturally you have to cough, but we'd be scared too. So we'd just be like, ugh.
And Rick Burkholder, our vice president, right, for performance and athletic training, would go, you guys coughing over there? You're not coughing, are you?
I promise I'm not.
Not touching anything, are you? You're not anywhere 700 meters from Pat Mahomes.
I prefer going to St. Joe than the training camp here.
Oh, yeah. Anytime that we want to grouse about what we're doing now, just remind me of that.
Perspective.
That was survival.
Yep.
One thing that I'm excited about, we're going to go through some different things, but what both of us saw was the year 1 to year 2 jump potential and the ceiling for the draft class of 2025. Keep in mind, we've talked about the class of 2022. It's pretty much spread out now throughout the league. That's just the way the NFL works, except for George Karlaftis. So somebody has to fill into that role. The draft class of 26 is obvious, but it's the jump of the 25 guys that really kind of has to happen that we have seen. I'm going to go through a couple of these. Noel Williams and Ashton Gelati on the defensive side come to mind, and then I'm going to throw in Cooper McDonald in this as well because Cooper was so good last year just showing up in his car and making the team, but then was a special teams menace. But now, seeing his reps in scrimmage downs, you kind of wonder, who is Cooper McDonald more than we thought? But let's jump back up to Gelati and Noel Williams for those two guys in specific, because I think a big key to the season, a big key to this defense getting back to its 22 and 23 mojo is those two guys.
I think if you ask me right now, who's the number one player you're most excited to watch in training camp in terms of seeing if they can make that leap, for me, it's Noel. Yeah. Because Noel, I think, was one of my standouts from the entire offseason training program throughout OTAs and throughout minicamp, especially minicamp. I mean, he was making play after play, knocked down numerous passes, had an interception in the end zone, just consistently looked the part out there. And this is a big year for Noel. He has a big opportunity here to really step in and be one of our top corners. And I think so far he really looks the part. Got to keep that going into training camp, but he's a player I'm super excited about. And I'm with you on Ashton as well, because I think we both know that the pass rush has to be better next year. Our last episode, we talked all about the third downs, the long third downs, that if we just got half of those to go our way last year, we probably make the playoffs. A lot of them didn't go our way, and I think the pass rush was in part because of that. Well, what do you do this year? You have to make sure the pass rush is better, and Ashton has a chance to be a big part of that. So once the pads come on up in St. Joe, hopeful to see Ashton Gelati continue that upward ascension, because he did impress me over the second half of last season. That interception against the Chargers was an awesome play. Let's see some more of that. Offensively, Jalen Royals also fits into this category because didn't see a lot of Jalen last year. Obviously had the injury in training camp, which kind of derailed his season. Never really had a chance to go out there and play much. But he's been one of the standouts of the offseason training program. There's no way around it. He's looked really good and kept that going through minicamp. Let's see if he can keep that going now as we go up to St. Joe.
Yeah, Jalen just 2 catches last year, but he did have the 30-yard kickoff return against Baltimore. And then you saw, that's the Jalen Royals that was awesome at Utah State when he was there at the end of his time as an Aggie in Logan, Utah. Versatility comes into play here, and I'm going to go back to Ashton Gelati. Leo Chanel was a rough loss. We've talked about that. Now he's a Washington Commander. But Leo did so many things that were not fully appreciated by fans. But Ashton Gelati could be a guy, even though he doesn't have an LB by his name, his versatility, the fact that he's so athletic for the size that he's got, allows Spags to use him in different ways. People just see him as an edge guy. He could be a stand-up guy in a two-point stance, or he could be lined up inside. So it's going to be fun to watch Ashton Gelati. I think he's a big key to the season. And then the versatility piece, Brashard Smith, in this year 1 to year 2 jump, because remember, he was a wide receiver at Miami of Florida. Then SMU turned him into a running back for 1 year. And last year it looked like a guy that had played 1 year at college running back. But again, in this offense, and to be creative and to be versatile, Brashard Smith could come into play more than people think. And so I think his versatility along with Gelati, and again, there's a high ceiling to me of this year 1 to year 2 jump by the 2025 class.
And to me, in a good way, I don't think there's as much pressure on Brashard this year as maybe there was last year, because I think when Brashard came in the game, it's like, okay, here's our explosive element. Yeah. He's our explosive guy. Well, if you look at our running back room now, I think they're all explosive, and he's part of that. So I think he'll have a chance to be a part of a very explosive rotation. And I do think having 1 year at running back under his belt in the NFL will help him going into next year, because he's played the position at this level now. Last year, at times, I think there was a kind of some growing pains going on. But I think, especially that last game against the Raiders, I think he had like 16 touches, like 12 carries, looked the part. Let's carry that now into training camp and into next season. But part of why training camp is so important compared to OTAs and minicamp is the guys aren't wearing pads this time of year. In training camp, we can actually get some answers on guys like Brashard, guys like Ashton Gelati, going out there at those positions that are going to be having a lot of contact involved. They can actually have contact with one another at practice. Haven't seen that a lot so far. Let's see what they can do once the pads are on up in St. Joe.
Yeah, and the final guy here is, we mentioned Cooper McDonald was not in the draft class, but a free agent, tryout guy that showed up. But Esa Pole comes into this discussion as well. At right tackle, we saw him get a lot of reps. Even reps at left tackle during this offseason. But Esa, again, has not played much college football. He hadn't played really till the very end of his collegiate time at Wazoo. And so what will he look like in St. Joseph? And they'll get into the right tackle discussion later in this podcast. But year 1 to year 2, I was encouraged with what I saw during the offseason.
Yeah, definitely. And in the case of Esa, you know, I'm always going to try to be positive, best I can, even when we're 6-11 and things are not very much fun and our cars aren't starting and our cars are being towed. But with Esa, I'm looking at last year and the bummer that it was in general, trying to find positives in it. I'm looking at Esa and saying, maybe it's a blessing in disguise that we had so many injuries at tackle and Esa had to go in there and play. Because I think when you're a stable team like the Chiefs and a team that's competing for championships, how often is a player who's an undrafted free agent with not a lot of football experience going to actually get an opportunity to play at tackle in games that matter? Probably not very often unless our hand is forced. And that happened last year with all the injuries. Esa had to go in there, and I think we'd say we were pleasantly surprised with what we saw. Obviously room to grow, but went out there and played pretty good football. So now we know kind of what we have in him. Still kind of a ball of clay, but there's a lot of potential there. And it should be a pretty exciting camp battle, I think, between him and Jalen Moore for that right tackle spot. So we can talk more about it later, but yeah. I do look at last year and all the injuries and everything. It's over now, right? We don't have to deal with the losses anymore, and we can look back at that and say maybe there are some positives we can take out of it, like young players like Esa actually getting some real life experience.
I thought you had a really good point when we discuss what we're going to talk about on podcasts. The next area, I should say, year 1 to year 2 improvement, but you had a really good one from this point of being 4 a.m. in the Chiefs Kingdom, from the end of mandatory minicamp to the start of training camp in St. Joseph. You have a really good point that I thought was excellent. So take off.
Well, it's part of the genius of Andy Reid and how he does things. And the word is retention. So I've talked about that a lot when we're in this time of year. This is all about retention. And Coach Reid is a master of this. So during OTAs and minicamp, the guys aren't just playing laser tag and Topgolf and learning to get to know each other and where they're all from and, you know, strength and conditioning. That's not what they're doing. They're doing the important stuff right now and laying the foundation for what they're going to do later on in training camp and not wasting any time. And truly, so much of our offense is already in. I mean, the playbook has already been discussed. They've already done installs. It's not like when they get to training camp, particularly early on, and there's a whole lot of new information that's going to be learned. The whole point is right now you want to put this all in their brain and they come back and they're ready to hit the ground running. Well, the reality is not all players are going to retain this information. And I think what Coach Reed is doing in a way is testing particularly our young and new players by teaching them all this information right now and seeing who is able on the first day of camp to actually do all of this stuff. Who's able to hit the ground running and who's asking questions, who's looking around, who doesn't know what's going on. And I think there's been plenty of times over the years where players really impress during this time of year. And we get to training camp, it just doesn't translate because the retention isn't there. And unfortunately, that tells you a lot about the player. If they're not going to be able to retain this information over the course of a month, well, can you count on them over the course of a long season and a long career? Probably not. So I think that's one of the beautiful things about what Coach Reed does here is he is challenging these players, not only physically, but also mentally, and not just when they're in the building. Even more so when they're out of the building saying, hey, here's some time off. But don't forget about this stuff, because when you arrive in St. Joe, we're not going to be holding hands and going over everything again. I expect you to know these things. And I think it's one of the reasons that we've been so successful over the years and gotten off to hot starts over the years is because of that retention element.
It's such a good point. The physical retention, too, of how you work. And basically the guys now they're on their own for roughly a 3-week period, 3.5 weeks. And so understanding that once you get back to St. Joseph, like the last thing they do here is pretty intense physical work, to know that that's the first thing you will do when you get to St. Joseph. But I think it's also the emotional maturity and emotional retention, because 39 new guys on this team, and of those 39 now, they have been with plenty of time and OTAs and mandatory minicamp to understand this is a franchise and a team that is bathed in unselfishness. It has maybe the most unselfish, iconic player in NFL history, or one of the most, in Patrick Mahomes. So they have now seen how Patrick works, meaning offense to defense to special teams to respect on and off the field. That's emotional maturity and understanding and emotional toughness. And so the leadership on this team is there as far as being emotional. But you know now how it works. And so when you hit St. Joseph, no surprises. Know the playbook, have the iPad down. 2, know that you're going to work physically. 3, understanding emotional and mental maturity and understanding. Because Coach mentioned it in the interview in the fact that we want guys to not think, meaning it's already part of your rote thinking, like it's in your soul. That way you play fast.
Yeah.
We're not waiting for you to catch up, because once we hit the ground in St. Joe, it's a full sprint. You're not jogging, you're sprinting. And that means in every phase of your game.
And last year notwithstanding, generally speaking, the Chiefs have gotten off to these great starts and they're just hitting the ground running. And I think so much of that is rooted in the fact that in late July, they're able to be a week or two ahead of a lot of other teams that are just kind of easing into it. Right. And the Chiefs don't really ease into it. I mean, they work within the rules, obviously, but in terms of the mental workload that they have to deal with when they get to camp, it's 100 miles an hour. And that begins during OTAs and during minicamp. So when I see the news out there about some teams wanting to cancel OTAs altogether or cancel minicamp, I mean, to me, it's just a missed opportunity. And the Chiefs do not miss these opportunities to take advantage of every single minute they have out there, even if we're in the spring and in the summer and the guys aren't wearing pads yet. It matters and it's important because it sets the stage for everything we do up in St. Joe.
That's for sure. Another area to think about as it's 4 a.m. in the Chiefs Kingdom and the slumber is there waiting for the sun to rise would be the areas to watch that we will watch session by session in St. Joseph. Not day to day, session by session. And that there's 3 areas. One is right tackle. We talked about it earlier in the podcast with Esapole in there. Jalen Moore, love Jalen's game, really like what he does, but he's got to prove that he's an 18-week, 17-game right tackle. And then we saw Khalil Benson. In fact, one of the guests at the College World Series I was talking to is the athletic director at Indiana. And we were talking about Khalil Benson and the fact that he loves him and so glad that he's getting an opportunity here. But right tackle is going to be something that will be watched very, very closely session by session.
This is a good example of why when all the undrafted free agents are signed, or when we sign guys to like reserve future contracts, or, any of the moves that just don't have a lot of fanfare, and we go out with them, and sometimes people are like, who cares? Like, I don't know who those players are. Think about the players we're talking about right now. I mean, Esapole last year, undrafted free agent, no guarantee of any NFL future. And now we're talking about him like a potential starting right tackle. And Khalil Benson fits in this category as well, where undrafted free agent out of Indiana, not a lot of fanfare, obviously wasn't a draft pick, but Coach Reed is talking about him in a presser as a guy that's kind of stood out to him so far. And do I know if he'll be competing for the right tackle spot? I don't know. That's pretty lofty for an undrafted free agent rookie. But the fact that Coach Reed is impressed by him already does say something. And if anything, he can be one of those guys that you call crockpot guys that we keep around in this system, and they grow into a player for us. So, Khalil Benson's a guy I'll be watching at camp once the pads get on, to see what he can do. But he's coming from the national champion, Indiana Hoosiers. I mean, he's played in some big-time college football. Let's see if he can play in the NFL.
And he's blocking Bain, right? Or Mesidor, I think.
Yeah, on the Chargers now.
Yeah. So the point is the fact that we'll be watching right tackle. Here's another key point about this discussion, is that now in the NFL, it has become more and more vogue. This is where the league has changed in just the last 3 seasons. The 6th offensive lineman used to be, that was like Haley's Comet that would fly around and they'd wave, and I'm eligible. Now all of a sudden we're seeing that become, and we have seen it against us.
A lot. Yeah.
A lot. And so think about Allegretti and what he meant to this team with those Super Bowl runs. So a 6th offensive lineman, and that might be somebody who's involved in this right tackle chase, to be that 6th person, and so you go unbalanced and bigger. So it's a little more there than meets the eye. Another area that we're going to watch day by day, and this one's more everybody's talking about, is wide receiver.
Sure.
And there were some encouraging signs that we saw during the OTAs.
Cyrus Allen. I mean,
Wow.
I was writing down Cyrus Allen's name over and over again. And, once again, we have to get the pads on up in St. Joe. We have to see what he can do in training camp. But just reporting what I saw during the offseason training program and the OTA sessions and in minicamp, the guy was a vacuum. He was everywhere. And really, to me, his route running stands out. And that was what he was really good at in college, is route running. He's like a technician. Not the fastest 40 time, but it doesn't matter if you can run routes really effectively. And he did that throughout his college career. And I think he did that throughout the offseason. So we'll see if he can keep it going. But, I mean, would you agree consistently? It was like, man, Cyrus Allen's had like 5 catches every single practice, it seemed like.
And tight window catches.
Yeah.
And blitz read catches, where there were blitz periods and it's a split second and you have to know what to do and read the defense. So, again, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. He's a rookie.
Which we've done sometimes. I try not to.
But when you looked at his analysis coming out of Cincinnati, some of the things that were listed as potential deficiencies, I didn't see that.
Agreed, yeah.
And so, again, don't get super excited about it, but there's enough there that we'll watch it day by day. And then we've mentioned Jalen Royals and his potential jump.
I'll add Tyquan Thornton, too, because we know what Tyquan can do. We saw it last year, and Tyquan consistently, when we needed a big play last year, kind of always felt like it was Tyquan against the Giants, against the Jags, against the Broncos and Denver, against the Eagles. He had one. Like, whenever we kind of had our backs up against the wall, it kind of seemed like the player that Mahomes trusted was Tyquan Thornton. And more often than not, Tyquan made those plays. It's kind of cool to see Tyquan's career progress here, because joined the practice squad a couple years ago, late in the year, and then kind of had a year in our system, had a chance to make the team at a camp last year and made those big plays that I talked about. Well, now he's earned a new contract, and we believe in him, and he kind of knows his way around this building and around this offense. Can he continue that progression and be maybe even more of a player for us next year? And I think that really begins with camp.
And the next step for Tyquan would be, think of the games you just mentioned. All of those were losses.
Yeah.
Other than the Giants game. I mean, he saved us in that. But the point is, Tyquan making a key play to win a game.
Sure.
We can talk about Marquez Valdez-Scantling all we want, but we see as backing up, catching the ball in the key play against the Ravens, right? Or what Justin Watson did. So if Tyquan Thornton becomes that guy, all of a sudden now you got something going on. So and we both know that it's there.
Oh, definitely.
We think it's there. So it'll be something to watch at camp, but that's the next step for Tyquan Thornton. That's a good one. And then finally it'd be linebacker. We talked about Cooper McDonald earlier and losing Chanel to Washington. So Jeffrey Bassa, I did not mention in the 25 class. He now enters this discussion. Cooper McDonald enters this discussion. You can go right down the line. Jack Cochran. We know about Drew Tranquill, and we know about Nick Bolton. It's the third backer in base, and it's the potential guys in the sub-packages. But that linebacker spot and the whole room will be watched really closely.
I mean, to me, I think that third linebacker spot is open for competition. And I think there's an opportunity for guys like Cooper McDonald and Jeffrey Bassa and Jack Cochran to compete for that role because Leo is no longer here. And competition brings the best out of everyone. I'd love to see what Bassa can do in camp just because he has that reputation as this hybrid linebacker who originally was a safety at Oregon before transitioning to linebacker. We know he's dynamic and athletic. Didn't see him a whole lot last year. He's a player I'm looking forward to watching in camp for sure.
Absolutely. So your alarm clock is set. It's 4 a.m. You're still slumbering in the Chiefs' kingdom. But let me give you some alarm clock when it's going to go off. The rookies will report July the 24th. What's interesting, we had 1 week less. Our week was pushed up during mandatory minicamp, and the clock this year in the NFL is kind of pushed back, meaning Super Bowl will be played on Valentine's Day. So
make your plans now, huh?
That's it. But July 24th will be when the rookies report, and we're back to having the rookies getting a couple days. We didn't do that. I do too. And the injured guys. And then the vets will report July 27th. Keep in mind now, the season ticket members will get their first practice on the 29th of July. And I love what this franchise does. There will be some things the season ticket members get to do and should if they so choose. And they get a couple of practices in St. Joseph that are just theirs and theirs alone.
And then 16 practices open to the general public. So beginning on July 30th, if you just want to come to a practice, you can. Now, if you retain one thing from this podcast today, it is that you have to reserve your tickets online ahead of time. Now, the majority of training camp tickets are free. Some of the days, like Saturday, August 1st, is like $7 or something. But generally speaking, those practices are free, but you still have to reserve tickets online ahead of time because there's a certain number of people they allow in. So you got to go to Chiefs.com. It's very easy to find. Reserve your tickets right now. Do not just show up at Missouri Western like we used to because you won't be able to get in. So reserve your tickets online ahead of time for whatever day you want to go. And if you're up at training camp, come say hi to us. We're in the tent right in the middle. We'll talk some football.
And so many people. Family Fun Day, by the way, is on August the 8th. Another season ticket member day will be August the 11th, and then the Rams game on the 15th. But the reason you're thinking, gosh, why do I have to go online and reserve my ticket? There are so many people in this organization that want to make sure your training camp experience in St. Joseph is the best ever. The thing that I love about St. Joseph is fans get up close, but there's so many families, so many little kids. It's my favorite thing about St. Joseph. It's their chance. If they don't get to go to a game, or maybe some families can't afford to go to games, they can go to training camp in St. Joseph. But to make sure that experience is the best, there has to be an idea of how many people to expect.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest part of the logistical matter of reserving your tickets online, because we want you to have the time of your life in St. Joseph, and it's right around the corner.
I remember being a kid and going up to St. Joe and watching the Chiefs at training camp. There's nothing like it. I love training camp. It's, for so many reasons, such a unique opportunity for us here, because just drive an hour to the north and you can be as close to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce as Mitch and I are to each other right now. And you can watch those guys lay the foundation for what we hope is a magical season. And it's just right there in front of you. They'll come talk to you after practice. You can get autographs and get photos. And a lot of teams in the NFL, most teams don't offer that kind of opportunity, and do it. Why not? You know, we live in this area. Go embrace seeing training camp up in St. Joe.
Very family friendly. I think of the missionary family who comes either every year or every other year from like Chile or Peru or somewhere, and that is their place to go, is St. Joseph. So
remember when we met the people from Azerbaijan that one time?
Yeah, or I don't know, the guy that played Little League against Patrick Mahomes from California.
Yes.
It's awesome.
It's amazing.
We'll have all kinds of camp stories. So it's 4 a.m. right now in the Chiefs Kingdom, but very soon that alarm's going to go off, and it'll be time to get ready for the 2026 regular season, and it starts in St. Joseph. For Matt McMullen, I'm Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs. Slumber now, but get ready to wake up.